Let's do it. We're live. All right, guys. Hey, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday, 12 o'clock. That means it's time for Making Hay with JRA. We are on site at Junk Express headquarters in San Francisco, California. Junk Express is a great customer of ours, and we've been working getting pictures and interviewing him for some additional content, creating videos, so on and so forth. Going to go on his website. Going to be coming to YouTube real soon. Great interview with Chris. Today is going to be a much shorter Making Hay with JRA because we have to get off to a couple job sites to get some pictures as well for Junk Express. This is mainly Q&A, so any questions you have, if you want us to look at a couple websites, we've probably got about a half hour at most, so please go ahead, post those questions so we can get rolling. Aaron, just let me know when we got questions coming through. So one of the things, there's no particular topic at all for today, it's mainly Q&A. When speaking and interviewing with Chris, and we spent the majority of yesterday with him, we had a great time going around San Francisco. He showed us we'd never been to San Francisco before, so we checked out the Golden Gate Bridge. We went to the Twin Peaks. Just an absolutely beautiful city. It was great weather yesterday. Chris is an entrepreneur, very much an entrepreneur. He started in several businesses in the past. He's failed at some. He's made some wildly successful. And one of the things that struck me the most yesterday when speaking with him is how difficult, and I resonated with, is how difficult it is to start and make that first business successful. To build your first $1 million business is the hardest because there's a lot of self-doubt. What he talked about, he said, man, one of the biggest mistakes I'd make when I started in business before I'd hit that first $1 million business is I'd question myself. I'd make a mistake and I would just kind of beat myself up. And I've been there, and a lot of you guys have been there. Those of you that have never done it, which the majority of people watching this channel have never built a $1 million business, you're going to have self-doubt. You're going to have times you're going to make a lot of mistakes. But one thing Chris said is you have to allow yourself give yourself the leeway to just understand that you're going to have mistakes and just forgive yourself. So if you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. Just figure out what you did wrong, correct it, and don't do it again. And then one of the things he said, which I completely agree with, because we're coming up on doing it with our second business and not even a year in, is once you've built a $1 million business, then it's easier from there on. So you know the principles and it's easier to do it from there on. Here's one thing I'll tell you. What I learned and what Chris said is you got to be willing to spend money, you got to be willing to invest, and you got to go over the top. If you're always afraid about saving money and about not making investments and you're questioning yourself all the time, if you have an instinct and you're questioning it and you don't go ahead in and go all in, you're never going to be successful because there's 12 other guys doing the exact same thing you are. You got to be the one or two guys that are going over the top, doing more than what everybody else is in order to get enough attention to get business.
All right, so we've got our first question from Leland Nelson. Conversion funnels, please comment on percentages.
In regards to Google Ads or which funnel?
In the meantime, we've got another question from Raul de la Tour. Would you ever buy a dump truck through eBay?
Sure. If it's a good price, I got no problem buying vehicles from eBay.
And Rio's Junk Removal and Hauling LLC. Actually, Leland is back. Says Google.
Yeah, Leland. It really just kind of depends. So one of the things that we track the closest, and I don't know if this is exactly what you're wanting, but one of the things we track the closest is what's your cost per job. And there's some parts of the market where it might cost you $50 per job or $40 per job. There's some parts of the market it might cost you $120 per job, depending on where you are. And then you just really track that cost of customer acquisition. I don't think that I'm answering I'm answering the question you exactly want. Try and give me a little bit more detail so I can try and give my input in. What else we got?
Rios asks, is spreadsheets connected to your bank or do I have to manually type in all my numbers every day?
Yeah, so that sheet, what he's referring to, Rios Junk Removal is referring to, is our cost of customer acquisition database. You're going to have to enter in your numbers every day. It's not synced with a particular bank account. I don't know if anything out there like that exists, but and you don't really need your bank account so much as you need your QuickBooks information to understand your expense percentages. Your expense percentages probably are not going to vary a whole lot every single day. So that spreadsheet, though you want to track it at least weekly, it's not something that you shouldn't see a whole lot of variation. You might see a little bit of variation from day to day, but week after week, there shouldn't be a tremendous amount of variation on your expenses. Disposal should be around 9%, fuel around 6%, labor around 35, 37% if you got 2 guys, so on and so forth. So the main thing to track is your average job cost, which that's easy to do just throughout the day. And then you want to understand what it costs you to get those jobs. And once you understand that, then you'll be able to see that cost of acquisition and make that net profit, that profit rise on those jobs, and then understand when it's time to expand out into other advertising areas.
We've got, oops, message retracted. Roll, if you want to retype whatever that question was, I can go ahead and get it answered. Otherwise, Rios asks, how many bank accounts should one business have in junk removal? Yeah,
and I'll get right to that. Guys, also any zip codes, if you want to check out websites, get us some zip codes or in pricing and all. Bank accounts, I mean, you could have one bank account to start with. You could have one bank account and a payroll account. I mean, one checking account works great. One checking account, one credit card account with a small to medium-sized junk removal business works fantastic. You don't need multiple ones. It's not bad to have a line of credit established. As soon as you can go establish a line of credit, that way if you go through some slower times, you have an LOC that you can hit to give you a little extra cash to make payroll, expenses, all that sort of deal. Try not to keep that fully extended though. If you have a $20,000 line of credit, try not to keep a $20,000 balance year round, or the bank's going to call that loan and start having you make monthly payments on it back.
Raul de la Torre asks, how does it work when I have only 2 or 3 reviews on Google? When I pay for the ads, will customers continue to actually click on my ad and book jobs?
Yeah, you're going to for sure get clicks on your Google ad if properly set up and book jobs. Reviews help out mainly on the Google My Business ratings. So when people are going through your ratings on Google My Business, so like that 3-pack, or if they're kind of expanding out the maps, then that's when reviews really help. And some customers do that. Some customers are going to review 4 or 5 different companies. They're going to go with the company with the most reviews. What you have to do is you have to make sure you solicit tons of reviews from your existing customers so you can get up to the level where customers are choosing you because of your great reputation. You can show a star rating on ads as well if you have a certain number of reviews. I've actually got Shane in here. Do you know the number of reviews you need for ads?
I think about 200, but they change it often.
I think it is. So to have ads, to have your reviews on your Google ads, we think it's somewhere around 200 reviews. That's what it was when that we had to get to in order to get qualified. And it's also over a period of time. And unfortunately, even if you set it up for reviews to show in your ads, Google picks and chooses what site extensions it shows, so it may or may not show. But you got to get to 200 before it's going to appear on your ads.
We've got a question from Manny Barrientos on Facebook. How do you calculate cost of acquisition? Sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, so I'll go into a real brief summary. We did it was last Tuesday, we did about an hour-long episode of Making Hay. Watch that, because that covered cost of acquisition. But cost of acquisition, the simplified way, you're going to take your total marketing cost and you're going to divide it by the number of new customers you got. So, for example, I'm going to write this out. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it because this pen is not very dark, but we're trying to make do with what we have here. So let's say you spend $100,000 in advertising through the year. That gets you 1,000 customers. You get 100,000. Can they see this? Coming in okay?
It's back it up a little bit and down, and then angle it down just a little bit.
That better? Not really. Okay. All right. So in this case, you'd have $100,000. You're going to divide that by 1,000 new customers. Your cost of customer acquisition is going to be $100. Go back and review last Tuesday's episode. But what you need to do is you need to understand what you profit for every single job, not counting advertising cost. So you go in and you say, okay, and you need to know your average job. So let's say your average job is $300. And then you're going to go in, you're going to say, okay, of $300, I've got disposal fees, they're 9% of $300. I've got fuel at 6% of $300. I have insurance expense, that's 5% of $300. I've got payroll, that's 35% if 2 people, that's half that if you're just you and one other person, if you're not counting your salary, so 35%. Credit card fees, let's just put those at 2%, and then miscellaneous expenses at 2%. And then you add up all your margins, and let's say your margin, your profit on that job is 35%. A lot of you guys are going to be profiting 50% on your work. You've got less overhead. I know a lot of you guys aren't doing workers' comp insurance. That kills you. So whatever your expense percentage is, if it's 35%, if you're profiting 35% or 50%, whatever, let's just say 50%, which is high, but let's say 50% to keep it even. That means at 50%, if your profit margins are 50% on a $300 average job, you have what's $150 at what's considered to be an allowable acquisition cost. So that means you can spend up to $150 on advertising for that customer and not lose money. You obviously, if you only spend $100, you're profiting $50 per job. The thing with that is, guys, a lot of you guys are not going to get excited over $50 per job average. Here's what I can tell you, and you've heard me say this again and again, the 3 R's. You're going to get a referral from that customer. You're going to get, if you do a great job, they're going to use you again, so you get repeat business, and they're going to review you online. So we had somebody talking about online review before. The key to getting reviews is to do a lot of jobs. So get out there, advertise hard, get your name out, go all in like Chris at Junk Express, so you can get all those Google reviews built up. And the last thing is there's 2 parts of this customer acquisition, cost of customer acquisition. You've got the first job, what you make on the first job, and then you have the lifetime value, LTV, the lifetime value of that particular customer. So what we do, and it's very conservative because you have a lot of customers that are going to use you monthly, yearly, several times every year. So some are going to use you weekly, but we figure the lifetime value of a junk removal customer is once every 2 years. So in a 10-year span, we figure over 10 years they're going to use us 5 times. And this right here, this $100,000 you spent on advertising over a 10-year span could probably, depend on your current margins of 50%, I'm estimating here. I've got a formula to figure it, but it's probably going to be $600,000 to $700,000 in profit over 10 years that $100,000 brought you. What I'm saying here, guys, is don't look at just a little bit you're making on each job the first time around. Look at the lifetime value of that customer. Get set up on MailChimp or some email subscriber list. Get their email addresses. Send them postcards. Send them regular emails once a month, once a quarter, and you're going to be able to monetize those people again and again and again.
We've got a question from Leland Nelson. More specifically, if you have online bookings, what type of booking percentage are you experiencing per 1,000 visitors?
Man, Leland, it is so wild. We've got, all right, so Junk Doctors, we see about 20% of our bookings online. Company in Denver sees about 40 to 50, probably, Shane, what do you think, 50%? Yeah, I don't have exact numbers on altitude, but about 50% of bookers online. Our customer in San Francisco is probably around 15 or 20%, so in line with Junk Doctors. Denver's a weird market. So most places we've seen are somewhere around 20%, but we've been in areas, Poughkeepsie. What are some other, Poughkeepsie is one that comes to mind. It's like nobody schedules online hardly. So it just varies on what you're going to see. I would use 20% as kind of a good round number of the percentage of bookings you get that book online. 20% online bookings, 80% phone bookings.
You can push them online with ads to incentivize them to book online as well with promotion.
So what Shane was saying off camera is, if you want to get more online bookings, then you offer promotion discounts. You can create a funnel. You mentioned one thing before, you can create a funnel, so that we've got a marketing campaign where we're creating a funnel not to get online bookings necessarily, but actually get email addresses in order for them to register to win. It's part of the commercial we did, our Mr. Junk campaign. There's a campaign we're going to be giving away once a month a free truckload in order for an email address. We're going to get them a coupon as well for a mailing address. We're actually going to mail them a coupon and a refrigerator magnet. It's kind of a unique refrigerator magnet. So once that campaign's done, we'll talk about it. But you can set up similar funnels online as well to get more bookings.
And Kendall Timms, how would you go about getting clients for demolition? I have a skid steer.
You can do online advertising for demolition. Set up a landing page. They normally rank pretty quickly and fairly well because demolition tends to be an industry that isn't very competitive online. Most of the real guys that are successful on demolition are getting a lot of their work through insurance and just kind of word of mouth. So they've been doing it long enough, and they're working for contractors, so on and so forth. That's how they get their work. If you're talking about the smaller demo jobs, we get most of our work just online. mainly organic. We used to run Google Ads stuff for it. We don't anymore. We just get most of our business on demo organically. If you want to do interior demolition, then we can build a campaign for you on interior demolition, because Kendall, I know you're using our Google Ads service, and you'd want to spend extra. You need to spend more in order to do that. But the nice thing about interior demolition is that's a pretty specific term. So if you're interested in going in and tearing out the interior of buildings, we can build out a campaign from that, and you can have a pretty good ROI. Obviously, you're referring to a Bobcat, so that you're probably not looking for that, but if you ever do want to, let us know. We'd be happy to help on that. Okay, so looks like, how long have we been broadcasting now?
25 minutes.
Okay, guys, we got about 5 more minutes. So any websites or questions you have, go ahead and give us to them now. This is kind of last call on questions, and then we're going to have to roll to this next job. Just kind of recap what I was talking about earlier when I was talking with Chris, and the fact he goes all in. One thing that Chris says, if any of you guys have ADD, and I've got ADD, but I've learned to control it and use it to an advantage where I can really hyper focus on whatever I'm working on. Chris talks about the exact same thing. So if you guys focus, if you guys were told throughout school, if you were medicated for ADD or whatever, given Ritalin, whatever, then you can be extremely successful in business. I'd love to see the statistics, but I would guess that the percentage of business owners that have ADD compared to the percentage of the general populace, I wouldn't be surprised if the percentage of business owners wasn't pretty high compared to the percentage of other people in the workforce. It would not surprise me at all. So, any other questions at all, Aaron?
None that I'm seeing here.
Well, good. Well, hope everybody's real busy. Hey, check us out online at junkrA.com. Again, Google Ads Management. We've got a new commercial division that's about to be online. We can rebrand. Check out our Junk Doctors commercial on the Junk Doctors Facebook page with Mr. Junk. That commercial can be rebranded for your company for just hundreds of dollars a month. The price hasn't been set yet. It's basically a $20,000 commercial that you can have access to for a few $100s a month. You pay Facebook or YouTube or TV to run that ad. We'll have final details. It's a full-on campaign. We mentioned that marketing funnel. We'll build out a full marketing funnel so you can gather email addresses. You can get mailing addresses. You enter them in an email database. You start sending them postcards. Even customers that don't schedule with you, you can get business from it. We'll build out those full campaigns. Anything you guys need, check us out at junkrA.com or call us at 919-617-1975. Any last questions at all? Are we ready to roll? All right. No questions at all. Thanks for watching here today, guys. Sorry for the shorter episode. Again, we are live in San Francisco at the headquarters of Junk Express. Check it out, junk-express.com. No E in Express, junk-express.com. We've got interviews coming up with him. Guys, second month in business. He doesn't care if I tell you. Second month in business, he did $60,000. Absolutely incredible. I've never seen it before. He's doing an awesome job. We're happy to help. 919-617-1975. We'll see y'all Thursday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time.